Good evening. Hello, it's Tuesday the 5th of September. September. I think I have to just say that because I say it every time. How can it be September already? The time is flying by at such a great rate of knots. But we seem to have something of an Indian summer up here in Greater Manchester in the UK. And we've had 2 very hot days. It's been wonderful, just glorious, lovely to get out into a good go out for some good walks, and it's just been blissful. But the downside is that it's nearly dark already. Can't believe it. Anyway, so welcome. I hope you're all well, and thank you very much for joining me. As always, I did wonder whether I was going to do just a blether, because do you remember those days? I started off doing just blethers. And it was face-to-face camera, and I was able to see your comments without a problem. However, I've kind of got into the way of doing these demonstrations instead, because it's fun to talk through my process. So let's see, we've got Christy here. Hello, Christy from Los Angeles. I love it. So you must be, noon out your way, I think, which is just amazing that, the wee creatures are so global. I love it. I love it. So today, now I know I've been away this weekend. Enrique and I had a lovely, lovely trip. I gave him a surprise treat where we went off to a converted old water tower in Lim, just in South Manchester. Gorgeous. But as a result, oh, good. I'm glad my time clock, my world clock is correct. And Helen's here just to drop in and say hello. Hello, Helen. I totally understand. Kids come first. I'll do my best just to sort of crack on. You'll catch up with the rest of it tomorrow, I'm sure. I'm going to be making a little strawberry otter tonight because I ran out of time for making strawberry otters before the last shop event, and I will be taking on requests from those who missed out on the guinea pigs and bunnies and otters as well. Basically any creature with small ears will work very well for the strawberry creatures. Anyway, yes, so I've been away this weekend, but my head is still a wee bit sort of away with the fairies. So it did take me a little time just to sort of work out what I was going to do. Yes, going away for I mean, I don't take much time off, but when I do, it's kind of like, and then I'm back. And so here I am. So yes, otters are fabulous. Anyway, so I've done a bit of prep work to begin with. I have weighed out 6 grams of clay because it needs to be a small otter. Most of my normal size otters are all made with 10 grams of clay, so this is nearly half the size. But because these are the bells. Aren't they fabulous? They're so cute. And because they're quite small, they're 1.7 centimetres, I think, in total. I need to make small creatures to hold them. But that makes them even more cute. So, yes. So finally, I thought I would catch up, make a strawberry otter with a little hat, a little strawberry, the green leaves that they have. They have a sort of a skirt around the stem. I don't know, I'm sure skirt isn't the right name, but it'll do for our purposes anyway. So I'll do my best to catch up with the comments. My phone is horizontal and the comments are sort of at the very base. At the very base of the phone, and I find it quite hard to keep track of everything. But hey, we'll get there. So this is clay that I have mixed up before because you cannot buy otter-coloured clay just out of the packet. So this is mixed with ratio 1:10 of, or 1:9. I never know about ratios. If anybody can help with that. Basically, it's 1 gram of black clay to 9 grams of brown. So what does that make it? A 1:9 ratio or a 1:10 ratio? I don't know. Anyway, doesn't really matter, I suppose. Right, that's going to be about the height of it. I just want to make sure, yes, that'll be fine because he's going to be more or less rolling it. So I want to make sure that he's going to be the right size. I could have made him maybe half a gram lighter. That, I think we'll go with the 6 grams and see how it goes. Oh, there's a little air bubble. And the other thing that I'm planning to do, I've got ideas for the sugar mice. and different techniques for making some Millefiori sugar mice. So that was another option that I was going to do. Brian, you have joined us. Lovely to be lovely to have you along. I must introduce you. Oh, Alison's here as well. Hello, Alison. Brian Fox is a dear friend, and I sing with him, and I sang with him on a couple of churches now, but we sing mostly at St James and Didsbury in South Manchester, and on Sunday we sang both at St James and in Holy Name. He's just such a dear person, and he is a great fan of the foxes, funnily enough, because he is a fox. So yes, he has a few wee creatures in his home. So thank you for joining us. I'm delighted that you're here. And yes, don't feel that you have to. It's very strange when you sort of when people that you have met are on the call. Because not that I ever censor myself, but I do have this stream of consciousness going on, and I really never remember what I say. But it's lovely to have you here, and yes, you get to see a little otter appearing. So all I'm doing at the moment is shaping the basic body, and just because I'm going to have him bending over, so he's going to be rolling. He'll be rolling the strawberry and holding onto it with his paws. And because he's a small otter, I will need to make sort of different sized cheeks for his face and paws and all the rest of it. And I want to just sort of give him his shape, sort of leaning forward a little bit. The clay is so warm in here. I did have the air conditioning on. Oh, how lucky am I to have air conditioning in this wonderful studio. I really am very fortunate and delighted to have it. Yeah, so back to the weekend. After this wonderful singing in both churches, it was beautiful polyphony, 16th century music by a composer called Victoria. After that, I took Enrique on a bit of an adventure, and we ended up staying in this glorious water tower in Lim, which just chilled me out so much so that I am not quite back into working mode yet. So forgive my relative silence in the QA group. Although, can I just say, I really enjoy, I'm so enjoying doing the sort of the meander down memory lane and posting pictures of all wee creatures that I've done before. So thank you for playing along with that. I will try and do maybe one or two a day, just for fun, because it's just, there's so many. I'm up to now 8,310 photos. And the good thing about this, actually, you know, at the moment, if somebody nominates a page of the 84 pages of photos that I have, then I'm just sort of posting the first picture because there's about 100 photos on every page, and I am just posting the first picture. But as I add more photos, that first picture is always going to change, which is fabulous. Right, so what I was doing whilst chatting away, I do sometimes forget to, my hands kind of just take over and decide what they're going to do. So I'm just shaping the legs. Just by using my little, it's a doll's needle actually, it's one of my essential tools. I don't have many essential tools, but those ones I have, I guard them jealously and I take very good care of them. And there have been one time actually, one of my cutters rolled off the desk and onto the floor, and everything had to stop until I could find it. Anyway, so that is a very good thing for just marking in the legs, to make sure that he has legs. This is where the waffle and the blethering comes in, when I start to wonder what on earth I'm saying. So I'm now just going to start the formation of the head. So I kind of, because I add the cheeks on separately, so I've got to kind of make his face quite flat so that the cheeks don't protrude too far. And then I'm just using my fingers to press in the eye sockets. And then the ball shaper, when I press in the eyes themselves, that completes the look and gives them a very realistic bedded in look for the eyes. Anyway, so I have to say, I am totally loving working with the smaller creatures just now. Oh, and Alison has nominated page 82. Whew, that's going way back to the very, very early days of queerness. I shall do that, but I have to say, I mean, I know that you like to see where the wee creatures have come from, but when I look back at the very, very young creatures, you know, from like 2009, 2010, and I just think, wow. I mean, it's lovely to see how they've grown, but part of me is like, oh, I wish I could make them all again. But I suppose they just all form. You know, that's the dynamic. That's how they have evolved over time. But it is fun to look back on them all and just kind of still see the seed of queerness, the spark of queerness that was still in there. Anyway, right, they're the little feet, paws, front paws at the bottom. They'll be the hands that'll come through. I may need slightly larger cutters for that, but I'm now going to cut out the cheeks and also give him his markings. So actually I'll keep that for there. I'm going to roll this bit of clay. This is, I can't remember the name of it, Sahara, I think, desert sort of clay. I'm just going to roll it as thin as I can on the pasta machine, never used for pasta. But yes, it's the queerness creatures evolving. It's been, gosh, I mean, over 14 years now that I've been making them. And they haven't stopped being exciting and fun and enjoyable, and just it's sometimes good just to sort of take a little step back and observe or watch or reflect. I suppose reflection, that's probably the best way to describe it. Just to reflect where they've come from, where they're going. Maybe, I mean, who knows? It's going to be quite interesting. Anyway, but. Anyway, the next thing which I will be working on, we're coming up for autumn, Halloween. How did Halloween just be round the corner? Next month. Halloween is next month. Anyway, I won't. I mean, I know. It's a common theme where I'm just like, where's the time going? But oh well, Halloween's going to be a fun time. I'll need to work out what I'm going to do, because when I look back through my Halloween album, and there's a lot in there. I've done a lot of Halloween creatures, but I haven't done a lot of small Halloween creatures, so perhaps that's where we go next. Who knows? I mean, they do always surprise me, and actually anytime I sort of think, oh, am I running out of ideas? No, I'm not running out of ideas. It's good fun. And actually, what I did yesterday, when I was still very chilled out from the weekend away, witchy cauldron mice, precisely, I need to find more of those tiny cauldrons, oh, Alison, that's the only downside to those. All right, I better just tell you what I'm doing here. So I've cut out the underlying, I mean, it doesn't look like much of an otter at the moment, but I can see where he's going with this. So the idea is that I'll put the cheeks on top. And that, you know, because if you actually look at an otter, that's where the markings are. That's sort of halfway up the face and down the chin underneath. And the cheeks will obviously be that colour as well. And I just need to press down the head a little bit to give it more of a shape, not too square. So as long as I can find more cauldrons. I think I came across some different pumpkin bells, just continuing the bell theme. And I have a great idea for a sort of a one-off piece for doing one of my auctions. That's going to be fun. Can't tell you about it now, but you will hear about it first if you come and join me, because you guys always get the scoops before anybody else. Right, I am using my pack pen, which is a fabulous device, just to cut out the right size of clay for the chops, or cheeks, I should say. And they're quite small. This is where I kind of think I probably need to go to a pedicurist. And yes, cauldrons are indeed in heavy demand at Easter. What? See, head just going on a bit. Anyway, Halloween, yes, cauldrons. And remember those potions I did last year? I mean, I've got, I've got lots of tiny jars to put more potions in them as well. And they can be sort of carried about by smaller creatures too. So and of course the owls, they're perfect for Halloween, and so many ideas. That's the thing. This is why I love, one of the main reasons I happen to love these, one of the many reasons I should say, I happen to love our chats together, because I'm just waffling away here. It's the stream of consciousness which just gets the ideas flowing as well. And as I'm standing up, I'm just going to take a look at, we've got Corky on the line. Hello, Corky, welcome. Glad you could join us. Again, another one from the other side of the pond. This is fabulous. Queerness really is global. So it's wonderful that you can join me. Right, I'm now going to cut out, this is the start of the chops, by the way, or the cheeks. So small cutters of circles shaped into teardrops, and then I'm doing the mouth, which I think I'll need to trim it a little bit, keeping it at an angle so that the cheek comes, the chops don't stand out too proudly. A little bit of my extensor medium, which is just fabulous stuff. And then the chops go on. And although I'm not sure that you can see it, but they're certainly slanting back. I've no idea if that's clear or not. And yes, Texas, lots of queerness residing in Texas. I love it. A manicurist, thank you. No, I'm not branching out. No, I just, working with my, oh dear me, sorry. You see, again, this is the downside, although it's probably quite amusing for you guys, where my brain just disappears off and goes off on little tangents, and then my mouth sort of starts saying things which I have no idea. I have no memory. Occasionally, Enrique and I will watch back these when he wants to see, just by special request, and then I sort of cringe on the other side of the table, forgetting what I've said and not wanting to watch it. And I honestly can't remember half the things I say. So it's really, it's a little bit, it's good fun, I suppose. That's why it's a blether. And my brew today is actually nettle tea. Was I drinking nettle tea the last video? I can't remember, but it's a recent discovery. I think it was recommended by Neil Oliver, actually. Do you remember the Coast guy? He of the gorgeous hair. He does have wonderful hair. I heard that his wife won't let him cut it off, and I can understand that because it is wonderful. Right, I have now made the chops. Anyway, nettle tea's really nice. It's very thirst quenching, actually. And I think I'm preferring it to normal tea at the moment, because normal tea or green tea, it can be quite bitter, I suppose, with the tannins in it. And nettle tea has none of that in it. Oh, I think that eye needs to come down a little bit, or the chops need to go up a bit. Right, do you see how he's shaping up now? So I've just marked with, this, whatever this is. I've just marked the eyes, and I just need to take off some flob. And I'm not sticking the chops on yet, because the chops get in the way of putting the eyes in. So I just I place the chops there to position the eyes. So I just need to carefully take the chops off. And favourite part, Alison, I'm coming into the eye box. Right, so these are the small eyes. These are the 2mm eyes. Black onyx beads, round black onyx beads. They're fabulous. They give such a wonderful sparkle they catch the light. And I always make sure that the hole is well hidden when I'm taking them out or putting them in, because obviously they've got a little hole drilled through the centre, because that's where they were on the string. Now, this is where you sometimes get my head. It's amazing. Like, for 2mm beads, do you see the difference in size? Or is it just me being totally OCD? Totally, I know, don't sneeze. You better believe it. My goodness. And I'm sure I've told this story every single time I do this, but one time I upset the lid like this before I could corral them back into their box. Beads everywhere. Spent about 3 hours picking them all up off the floor, and my floor is not somewhere you want to spend any time at all. It was disgusting. Ugh. So I hoover more regularly after that experience. Right, so I'm using my bent nose needle pliers, which means that I can position them without the I don't know why they work better than straight nose needles pliers. Sorry, I don't know why, but they do. So I stick with them. So I'm catching the hole, the drilled hole, and putting them in sideways, being very careful not to touch the clay, and then they look really weird. They look so strange until I put the eyes, until I push them in slightly, and then it's like, oh my God, there's an otter. It's a magical process, and I don't think I'll ever get tired of it, because it's just magic. So very, very carefully using a ball shaper. Again, this is to not mark the clay round the outside, and because I'm basically displacing the clay when I'm pushing them in. So that creates a little eye socket. Now, not very ottery at the moment, I know, but when the chops go on, magic happens. And then they start shouting at me going, I want my feet now, I need my paws, where are my hands, etc, etc. That's just what they do. Yeah, they do talk to me, actually. Maybe I shouldn't confess that too much. Anyway, I am now, this is when they get properly secured on, and flob alert, and this is why the front of the face has to be quite flat, because otherwise they'll stick out too far, and it's a question of just positioning them in, shaping the chops, the cheeks, round the side. There we go. We definitely have an otter in making. I love it. It's wonderful when I see them appear. Now, because all my wee creatures, if you have noticed, go have a look at one of your wee creatures now, and they are very talkative indeed. They all look up at you. You know, they do actually have a upwards, and I think that's because when I'm making them, I'm looking down, and they're kind of looking up, going, hurry up, or whatever they might be saying to me at that given time. But this one needs to be bending over his little strawberry thing. So yes, oh, that's my wet wipe. Essential kit, absolutely essential kit. So I'll put his paws on first of all. So these are the little cutout circles. I'm just shaping them into teardrops, and I will also sign him with my Quernus cane before I fix things on, because it's just, I know it's signing him before he's actually born, which is a bit odd, but that works best because you know, the head, the hat, his little strawberry frond hat is going to be the most delicate, so that goes on last, and I really don't want to be handling him once he's on there. Oh, let's see. I'm sorry. We've got oh, potions, and oh, so gosh, there's lots of comments and I can't see them all. Sorry, I shouldn't have touched it. I shouldn't have touched the comment screen, because they're now scrolling around and I can't see any of them. So terribly sorry. I'll need to catch up with everybody once. Let's see if I can. No, I don't know where it's going. Anyway. We have, oh, I see that there's more people here that I haven't said hello to. Apologies again. Right, back to the paws. So cutting them at a slight angle, 45 degrees, so they sit nicely under the body. Because if you stick them just straight out from the edge, they just look weird, basically. And otters don't really like to be weird. So I'm kind of bedding them underneath the leg to make them look pretty well, more natural than they could otherwise be. Right, so, and then they need to be shaped slightly and marked with their, so they have 4 toes. Oh, sorry. That's me just trying. You see, this is why. Oh, I think it's the last comment. Where are the biscuits? Yeah, that's what they say. And tea. They do look for tea as well. So I'm using the blunt end of my scalpel just to mark the toes. And what's really good about they've got 4 toes, because you know how otters have quite, they have they have webbed paws, and they're like fingers. They're amazing, like webbed fingers. And because by using the blunt end, it sort of splays them out more into a square shape, so much more sort of webbed. Anyway, I know what I'm trying to say. Sorry, it's all a bit disjointed, as it often is with me. Right. Oh, Brian, you're very kind. It's just, I just have fun, and I'm delighted that people enjoy watching the process. This is my signature cane, which I made years ago. And because it's so small, it lasts forever. So again, if you have a Quirinus creature to hand and you turn him or her over, then you will be able to see the signature on the bottom, which I just press in, and he's marked now with my, not branded, no, I didn't mean that, my dear. And then, let's put that safely back. I'm going to put his ears on first. Now these have to be very, very fine and very thin and very small, because otter ears are not big. So again, another size of my pack pen. It really is a wonderful tool, this, actually. It's worth looking out. It's made by a lass called Agnes Horvath, I think. She does amazing miniatures, but she's branched out and has created this wonderful tool for miniature users. So it's just superb. I mean, a lot of the time I'll use it for marking out very small quantities of clay so that they're all the same. But it's very handy for things like tiny, tiny otter ears, as you can. Right, here we go. So I'm just lightly impressing out an otter shape, and actually I'm going to cut 2 ears out of this circle. So here we go, and just cut it mostly in half, and then I need to again edge the corner of the ear. That's a very, very tiny sliver off, but this is because to make them look natural, it's got to be a 45-degree angle. But it's quite delicate work, as you can see. And some people would say, well, you didn't do anything there. And then a tiny bit of medium extender. This amazing, which they have discontinued now. I think I said that the last time. So I'm just lightly folding that round. This is delicate work in this heat, I tell you. And then placing the ear on the side, and the same again. Now they're going to be covered up by his flower, his strawberry fringe frill, whatever you want to call it, but it's important to have it in. It's the same way whenever I have done sort of dressed up mice, they all have their layers in. It wouldn't be fair not to. Right, I'm using a clay shaper. This is another tool which is used in oil paints for moving the clay around. So I'm now peering over the top of my glasses, which is why it's really close up, because I have perfect vision, perfect eyesight, 6 inches from my nose and not a centimetre beyond. So when it's very delicate work, I will peer over my glasses and there we go, and keep them. Right, he's shaping up. Right, do forgive the occasional sort of squirrel moments. I really am not a good multitasker. For many years, and I know I've said this as well, so forgive the repetition, but for many years I always prided myself and thought I was an excellent multitasker, and I don't know, maybe it's just time that has taught me otherwise. Right, this is where I'm going to position. This is when I'm going to position my the little bell. So he needs to bend over. Now the clay is pretty pliable at the moment. I want to avoid his ears, and I want to avoid messing up the shape of the head as well. So I'm just gradually bending him forward, and then I will put the little strawberry bell in front of him and sort of shape him to it. Now I don't know whether you can see that terribly well, but he's now sort of leaning over the bell. Now the bell, it will stick to the bell because the clay is sticky at the moment because it is so hot. But what I'm going to do is glue it in place, trusty cocktail stick, and some original, it's just PVA glue, but it's the best thing I've found for attaching things for the wee creatures to hold. I don't know why. It survives the baking perfectly well, dries clear, it's all good. So when I'm sticking baked clay onto anything, you know, like if I had any of the wee creatures like lying on leaves or anything, then I'll use clear all-purpose glue instead. Again, can't really explain why. Right, so that's the strawberry bell glued in place. I'm now going to put his paws in, and once he's actually all ready, that's when I'll make his little hat. And hopefully I'll have time to do that before we come to the end of this little soiree that we have. And as well, and tonight, yes, I will be going home because Enrique is off to Taiwan for nearly 2 weeks with work. So tonight is my last night with him for a little while, and so how privileged do you all feel that I'm spending it with you? So yes, it'll be nice to see him. I'll take him to the station tomorrow. Right, so all I'm doing, I've put a little dab of glue so that he can hold onto the handle, and a little bit of the extender medium as well, so that I can blend that into the body. And this is where I'm kind of shaping, so it looks as though he's shaping the arms. Sorry, didn't finish that particular sentence. Shaping the arms so that he looks as though he's sort of clutching it tightly to him. And the other thing which will help with that, which will help bed him in, is to do that with the blunt end of the scalpel again, and give him his fingers just to the tips, and the pressure bends the fingers in towards the top of the the hoop that the bell is hanging from, and it makes it look as though he's, you know, sort of clutching it like that. It works very well as it's sort of using the tools to kind of help the just to make them more realistic, because, you know, I've always been a great one, if they're going to, I want the creatures to interact with their environment. If I was a posh art student, then that would be my tagline. I'm just making sure that none of the paws, either of the paws, not have just got out of shape. There we go. That's all right. Right, so we basically have an otter holding his little strawberry thing, but he doesn't have his little hat on now. Now this is where I will just nudge his ears down a little bit so that they don't get too much in the way. And then I use, here's some I prepared earlier. So I mixed up some green clay, and I'm using a daisy cutter. This is just an icing cutter that you use with cake decorations. But because the clay is so sticky, I dust it with, or I dust the cutter, I should say, with corn powder, cornstarch. And it's a very good way of stopping the clay sticking too much. I mean, after a while, the polymer clay does react very slowly to the plastic of these things, the hard plastic. So I do have to change them every couple of years or whatever. But to help them in the meantime, that little dusting of of cornstarch, corn powder, corn flour? Corn flour should help. Ugh. So I've put it on quite, yes, Blue Peter would indeed be proud. Where do you think I was taught? I got all my learning from them. Do you remember? Right, so I'm just moving it around to make it as clean round the edges as possible. And this is when pulling up the plunger and trying to carefully peel off because it's quite thick. So, I mean, the thicker it is, the more it wants to stick. So this is going to become his little flower hat. As you can see that, so that's been a little chunk of something, probably plastic actually. It's coming time when I need to replace this, because sometimes the petals do start to come off. So I'm going to have to give that a good clean, but not now. I would normally spend some time getting it cleaned, but in the interests of not boring you too much. And what I'm doing now is just lightly pressing the fringes before I sort of turn it into more into a flower shape. Now, with this, I made this a long time ago. This is just a lump of an egg-shaped lump of silicone molding material, but I used it for when I was hatching little Easter chicks, because then I would shape the eggs on these. And it actually, I use it also for shaping the flower hats when I've done flower hats. And it's perhaps no surprise that I'm doing it for this one as well. Sticky back plastic, my dear, you wouldn't believe how much stationery I have. Sticky back plastic I have loads of, and I have recently just discovered, and Brian knows all about this, my little strips of highlighter tape. Not something I'll use with the wee creatures, but as a stationery adduct, they're just fantastic. So I have to say, I use it for music. We were doing 8-part music on Sunday, and it's fabulous because you can just highlight your line, because you've got 8 staves of music, and trying to follow where you are can sometimes be a bit tricky. So these highlighter lines, it's like a highlighter pen, but you can remove it. It's like a Post-it note for highlighter pen. Fabulous stuff. If you're any way interested in stationery, and I am a total fan, yeah, just look up highlighter tape or strips and you'll find it. Amazing stuff. Right, so what I'm doing is sort of very carefully pressing down the fronds and increasing them. This is what takes a little more time, actually. And what I'm going to do now is actually start. So that's pretty much there. I'll do some more shaping, but I'm actually going to start pinching. How did I ever find out how to do this? This is not quite how I make the flowers. It's easier to make the flowers than this, because what I'm trying to do now is to shape the center, create the stalk, rather than stick on a stalk. I want to make it more integral. But that's a question of sort of trying to pinch in the center into a sort of a stalk shape, whilst retaining the integrity of the actual leaves and fronds themselves. Brian, I'm very glad that you enjoyed the highlighter tape. I have ordered some strips, actually pre-cut ones, so I think they'll be a very good addition to our music library for the next time if we need to, when we're circulating the booklets, and we could always highlight those who wish for it to be highlighted. Anyway, delighted with the highlighter tapes. They will also be very good for following knitting patterns. If there are any knitters out there, because I do knitting in my spare time. This is how I relax. But I only knit scarves. I have no interest in doing anything else. In the same way that I only make wee creatures. I have no interest in making anything else other than wee creatures. I only knit scarves. So if I'm following a pattern, haven't tried it out yet, but that was the main reason I got them, then I just put on a strip of highlighter tape and you can follow the chart. It's really clever. You can use it for annotating books as well. You know, if you want to sort of highlight any parts in books. It's brilliant stuff. I feel that I'm going on. Yes, 16-part repertoire. Absolutely. I'll get double quantities in for that, Brian. Absolutely. Oh, wonderful. Right. As you can see, it's quite a delicate and time-consuming operation, but it is shaping out. I want to make sure that all of the fronds are as securely attached as possible. I've got my little stalk is pretty much there, and I can actually make it much longer now because I'm not starting it off. So and then it's just a question of making sure that the fronds are as attached as they can be, so they're as secure, and by pressing them, reshaping them in, that's also emphasizing the domed shape, because they've got to fit on the head. And then I want to sort of have them slightly turned up so that it can sit like a proper strawberry hat on his head. Now that's pretty good. Let's make sure this is, oh dear, sorry, squirrel moment. Yeah, my brain's going, will you just stop wittering? I'm trying to concentrate. Or my hands are saying that to my brain. So forgive me. Right, okay, that is about as much as I want to handle it at the moment. Now, oh, she says, handling it some more. I'm just pinching the leaves to make them more pointy, because I believe that strawberry fringes are fairly pointy. Do feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I have eaten enough strawberries this summer to start my own farm. Oh, they've been so delicious. They really have been. And I've been meaning to grow some in the back garden, but that hasn't happened yet. So, right. Finally, was it worth the wait? Let's see. Should we give you your little hat? Right. This is where, just to sort of make sure, see, by bringing the fringes down a little bit more, kind of embeds, makes it more like a hat, I suppose, gives it more of a dome shape. And I want it up a little bit at the head so that he can see what's going on. And then I'll trim the edge there. That's pretty good. Okay, and because the clay is so hot and sticky, that doesn't need any more pressing in than what I'm giving him. And to make it look even more strawberry-like, I am going to just trim off the stalk with scissors. And then it actually does look as though it's been sort of a cut hat. Right, I think we're good. We're pretty good. I like to give it a little bit of a off to one side thing. That is a little strawberry otter. So I'm very happy with him. I'll probably play around and do some tidying up of him in the morning once he's cooled down a bit, because I can see some flob and some bits of, I don't know why, I seem to have glitter on the clay all the time, and when I'm not using glitter, so go figure, I don't know where it comes from. But yes, so there'll be little bits of tidying up to do like that, smoothing out the clay, getting rid of the fingerprints, making sure the hat is all okay, but I'd say he's rather a cute little otter. So yes, I shall be taking requests, probably like maybe 5 or 10 at a time, for doing the little strawberry creatures. But thank you very much for bearing with me while my little strawberry otter appeared. Thank you so much for joining me. And oh, Catherine, you're here as well. Sorry, I just saw your message, your comment, and it just flung off again. Yes, cat hair. Thankfully, no cats here. I don't have a problem with Zeus hairs anymore, sadly, but good. And don't want to be sort of, I don't want to say that I do miss him, but I don't miss the dog hair, is what I'm trying to say. Yes, so I shall post a picture of him tomorrow once he's fully cured and tidied up and primped and all the rest of it. But thank you very much for joining us both for this. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. I don't even know what time it is. Oh, it's nearly 9:15 now, so I've run over a little bit. Thank you for your patience in coming with me. I know I kind of want to sort of show you what he looks like from face on, but I don't want to hold him too much. So actually what I shall do is hold him on with the strawberry, because then you can see him more clearly. And I can see another bit of glitter there. I'll get rid of that soon. Thank you all for joining me. It's always a pleasure. I do enjoy these very much. I haven't had a mouthful of my nettle tea, but I shall go and do that now. And enjoy your evening, and I shall see you all soon. All right, all the best. Lovely to see you, Brian. Thanks for coming along. Hope to see you on Sunday. And yeah, have a good night. Bye.